Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I have this is a very serious subject I'm going to talk about today. I came across a video from a supposed Trump supporting supposed man of God, Pastor Shane Vaughn. I've seen this guy before. He's got a southern accent, and he's always preaching the fire and brimstone, and that Democrats are evil Satanists and all this other nonsense. I've seen him before, a bunch of just nonsense. The stuff he said today, though, I really have a problem with. He's talking about John Fetterman, Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. As we know, John Fetterman's had health issues, and so he won the Senate, and which kept the Senate in Democrat hands. And this man of God, this Trump-supporting man of God, Shane Vaughn, has his opinion about John Fetterman. The stuff he said about John Fetterman is just ridiculous, and it's not just bullying behavior, but it's dangerous. It's the kind of thing that prevents people from seeking help for dangerous problems. And I know, because I'm familiar with this. I put myself in the hospital over 13 times, and this stuff he says, it just prevents people from getting help. Okay, so John Fetterman was diagnosed recently with clinical depression, and he put himself into Walter Reed Medical Military Hospital. It says he's going to be there for a couple of weeks. There's a link on that story will be right down below, so you could read about John Fetterman and Walter Reed Military Hospital and all that. I think I even have a link down below about Walter Reed, the hospital. Okay, now I know I just did a video talking about how I'm not crazy about vets, but this is dealing with mental health issues, addiction, and I have very strong feelings about that. Okay, so Pastor, the man of God, I can't believe this guy calls himself a man of God. So he starts off this video talking about John Fetterman. His idea is here that Satan, of course, it's always Satan. Satan used John Fetterman for the Democrats to win the Senate. Why, I don't know, but it's always Satan. When they think anything bad happens, it's Satan. And now Satan is laughing and put John Fetterman, and he calls this the Nuthouse. He says John Fetterman put himself in the Nuthouse. He's crazy. He's got issues. Okay, that's what this man of God, Shane Vaughn, said. The video will be right down below, so you watch it yourselves. I have a big problem with this. I don't even know where to start. He doesn't even call it Walter Reed Military Hospital. He calls it the Nuthouse. Now, I'm sure there's, like I said, I talked in a video, just a couple of videos back, about having a problem with disabled American vet commercial. But, I still have a heart for these people, these vets that are in the hospital. So he's describing Walter Reed Military Hospital as the Nuthouse, which, of course, right there, that's an issue. But then he says John Fetterman. He says you could always tell John Fetterman was crazy. Just look at a picture of him and his wife. Now, that's what Shane Vaughn says. What he means by that, I don't have the slightest clue. I think he's just grabbing at straws. I have no idea what he meant by that. So he says, John Fetterman put himself, because Satan is done with him now, and he's crazy. Like, Satan made him insane and put him in, so now he's in the Nuthouse. Obviously, I have a big problem with this. Labeling somebody with clinical depression as crazy, and the hospital, when they have enough self-realization to put themselves to self-preservation, because bad things happen if you have drug addiction or clinical depression and you don't get help. We're talking about serotonin levels in your brain. This is medical imbalances in your brain. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I'm familiar with this. In my case, I remember a doctor saying, he has to figure out with people like me, this is back when I got help in the hospital, whether the mental health issue was first with me, and then I used drugs to self-medicate, or I started experimenting with drugs, which then caused a mental health issue, like which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. I remember the doctor actually said that to me. And in my case, I started toying around with substances I shouldn't have, and I paid the price for it. I put myself in a dual, the detoxes I went in, they were called dual diagnosis. It's not just drug addiction. There's people with drug addiction and mental health issues, because I had depression, clinical depression at the time from the substances I was taking, plus the being addicted to opiates and everything, messed with my serotonin levels. And let me just tell you this guy, this supposed man of God, describing this as crazy, like because of Satan. John Fetterman is crazy and he's in the Nuthouse. It just ticks me off. Like I said, this is because of serotonin levels. And when you feel this, when you're dealing with clinical depression, I can't even tell you guys, I can't even put into words how black everything is. There's no joy in anything. Like, most people get up, they go to work, they enjoy, they get some enjoyment out of accomplishing things, getting up, eating, being intimate with their significant other. The normal things we do every day: eating, breathing, being intimate, waking up. And none of that, when your serotonin levels are off, or your levels are off, clinical depression like this, everything is just black. I don't know how else to describe it. I just remember, even now, I have a hard time trying to remember how terrible it was. But it was a god-awful feeling. Like, you don't even exist. Like, you can't even relate to other human beings. You don't even feel part of the human race. There's no joy, no reason to do anything. It's not just like, oh, I don't feel, I'm kind of down these days. It's not even close to that. It is just this blackness, this loss of interest in life itself. It is a god-awful, terrible feeling that I would never wish on any living person. Nobody, not even Donald Trump. It's a terrible feeling. And if you just let this continue, we're not, like I said, we're not talking about somebody that's just, I feel guilty, or I had a bad day, so I'm going to do something to myself. No, we're not talking that. We're talking about not even feeling like a human being anymore. Everything you're familiar with, getting up, eating breakfast, all that, it ceases to exist. It's just this blackness, and it's like a movie almost you're watching, and you're not even part of life. It is a god-awful, terrible feeling I would never wish on anybody. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this. And to hear this supposed man of God mocking this, calling John Fetterman, first of all, calling him Uncle Fester. Name calling is the lowest form of bullying. I despise name. You will not hear me name call on this channel. I despise that. He calls him Uncle Fester, and then describes the military hospital as a nut house, which I'm sure the thousands of military veterans across the country will just love that. And describing clinical depression as Satan-induced craziness. This is the kind of thing that stops people from seeking help, because they're labeled as crazy or going to the nut house. Thank God I didn't listen to that, and I got help. And the last 16 years of my life have been the best years I've ever experienced. I was in these places. Like I said, the place I went to, the detoxes I went to were in the hospital. It was a lockdown ward, and I put myself in there. Now, I was usually in the detox for 7 days, and there were people in there with just mental health issues, like clinical depression, like bipolar. And it's scary and it's sad. The first time I saw somebody bipolar, I was shocked. Somebody that's laughing one minute and crying the next. And I can't tell you, how sympathetic I feel towards these people. It's a terrible way to go through life. It's a pure torturous way to exist. And to hear this man of God describe it in these terms It's just beyond appalling. And plus, it's dangerous. It stops people from seeking help because they don't want to be labeled nutcases. They don't want to be labeled going to nut houses or dealing with or having this induced by Satan somehow. This is the kind of thing that stops people from getting help. And when people stop getting help, there's usually not a good ending. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. That's usually the ending, is the end of the person. And for, like I said, a man of God to, and this is the same people that talk about, they're wringing their hands over the southern border and the substance is coming across. And yet they're putting out this nonsense that prevents people from getting help. Because a lot of people that deal with substance abuse issues also have clinical depression, like I just said, or vice versa. First they have addiction, then clinical depression, or the first they have clinical depression, and then addiction. The two are very connected, in my opinion, not being a doctor, because I dealt with both of them. Anyway, the links are down below. This guy should be ashamed of himself. I can't believe he calls himself a man of God, Shane Vaughn. Anyway, the links are down below. Seek help. There is recovery from drug addiction, and there is recovery from depression. Get help. Seek help. Life is good. Life could be better. Don't listen to people like Shane Vaughn, man of God. Have a good Monday.